I want to start first and foremost by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakodash, for giving me the spirit to this lesson. Peace and salutations to the apostles, the elders, and the bishops who rule well and who teach with sincerity in this truth. Blessings also to you, Akim, fellow laborers in the vineyard for that penny a day, and to the rest of the believers, the men, women, and children whom the Lord has foreordained to be recipients of mercy, through the sacrifice of his beloved son, Yahweh Shai, who is our atonement, Shalom. Now, this lesson is going to be, not sure what the title is, but it's going to be about, our ability to judge the people around us, especially men who claim to be in the truth, but who aren't, disingenuous people, who pretend to be genuine, who pretend to profess the doctrine that we profess, but yet through them corrupting, the doctrine or some other means, they show, that they are not actually sincere. So this is influenced by this quote, that I stumbled across while reading a book by Arthur Schopenhauer. Right? It says, "You will always be the prey or the plaything of the devils and fools in this world if you expect to see them going about with horns or jangling their bells." Right? The art of deception is to appear the opposite of what you actually are. Right? So the devil will not come with horns and show himself to be an obvious devil. Otherwise, you wouldn't trust him. Right? So when you analyze, people within your walk in life, especially within the context of the truth, it is not always wise to take everything at face value. Right? Sometimes we need to examine the words they say, the things they do, and their mannerisms, to really understand what is happening. Right? So let's start here in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, and I'll start from verse 13. It says, "For such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Hamashiach. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of light, whose end shall be according to their works." Let's read that in the NLT. Right? It says, "These people are false apostles. They are deceitful workers who disguise themselves as apostles of Hamashiach. But I am not surprised. Even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. So it is no wonder that his servants also disguise themselves as servants of righteousness. In the end, they will get the punishment their wicked deeds deserve." For example, right now, the main topic of discussion in the Hebrew Israelite sphere or community is the Genesis men. And not for a good reason, at least as far as GMS is concerned. These men are now teaching that other nations, actual heathen, can be a part of the salvation, right, that Israel is to get and pretty much share in our inheritance in the kingdom. And as they do it, they play a sincere role, a seemingly sincere role. If you listen to them talk, you listen to their mannerisms, you listen to the words that they use, it would appear as if they are sincere. And if you are unlearned, right, or if you are weak in the doctrine, you might as well be swayed by their words, right? They come off as victims, right, saying that the men of Great Millstone and others are attacking them, for simply speaking the truth, and they put on this innocent persona, meanwhile speaking things that are in opposition to the scriptures, right? So this is an example of servants of Satan, which the word Satan's mean adversary, Shatan, right? The word devil means deceiver, right? So let's get in our precept. This is Luke chapter 20 and verse 20. And they watched him, talking about Yahushua, and sent forth spies, which should feign themselves just men, that they may take hold of his words, so they may deliver him into the power and the authority of the governor. Let's look up that word feign, right? The word feign here is
Strong's G 5271. Hupakrinamai. Hupakrinamai.
hypokrenomai. And if you notice, the hypocre is where you get the root of hypocrite from, which is an actor, right? Let's look it up. It says, to decide or speak under a false part, to dissemble or pretend, to feign, to take up another statement in reference to one that has decided for oneself, to reply, to make answer, to speak on a stage, to impersonate anyone, to play a part, to simulate, to feign, to pretend. So we look up that word feign. Let's look up that word feign. Right? It says pretend to be affected by, simulate, pretend. Right? So they feign, they're pretending, they're playing a part. So too, just like back then, so too presently, you have men that are quote unquote in the truth, who are playing a part, who are feigning, who are pretending, who are simulating being in the truth. And this not just goes for men who are outside of Great Millstone, but men who are also inside of Great Millstone. Some men pretend to be a part of the truth. And one way that you can see it, and this is something I've experienced over the years, is when they are in when people are in an uncomfortable situation, the masks which they wear slip, right? You will see the difference between a sincere brother and an insincere brother when his comfort is threatened or taken away, when his convenience is threatened or taken away, right? So let's go back. Luke 20 and verse 20. And they watched him and sent forth spies which should fain play a part of just men, that they may take hold of his words, so they might deliver him unto the power and authority of the governor. And they asked him, saying, Master. So they're flattering him. They're giving him a title of superiority. Master, right? We know that thou sayest and teachest rightly, right? Neither accepteth the person of any, but teachest the way of God truly. Is it lawful for us to give tribute to Caesar or no? But he perceived their craftiness. Why? Because Yahushua was first and foremost the special Son of God who had spiritual power and able to discern the thoughts and intents of the hearts of men. But also, right, he was a master at reading people. This is something that we ourselves can develop, right? The art of reading people to see, the micro expressions or the little tics and physical things that they do to give away themselves, pretty much, right? So he said, he perceived their craftiness and said unto them, Why tempt ye me? Show me a penny. Whose image and superscription has it? And they answered and said, Caesar's. And he said unto them, Render therefore unto Caesar the things which be Caesar's, and unto God the things which be God. So he correctly identified the craftiness, right? The fact that these were not righteous men. These were not sincere men, right? And he answered in a way that would not incriminate himself, right? Let's go to another precept. This is Romans chapter 16 and verse 17. Now I beseech you, brethren, mark them, scopeo. That's what that Greek word goes back to. Scopeo. Watch them, right? Watch them, pray them, but don't trust them, right? It says, Now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine which you have learned, and avoid them, right? So one of the ways how you identify insincere men is if they are teaching the truth or not, right? Because it says, For they that are such serve not our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, but their own belly. And here's the point. And by good words and fair speeches deceive the hearts of the simple. Again, we draw on the example of the Genesis individuals, right? By good words, because these men are intelligent men. They are very, what do you call it now? They're very, word is slipping right out my mind and it's slipping me. They are very it's not crafty. It's not seductive. Right? They're very charming. They're very charming individuals. They're very entertaining. Right? They know how to speak to elicit, a certain response from the audience, and they use that intelligence. They use that persona. They use that charm, right? Which is the good word and the fair speech is to what? To deceive the hearts of the simple. But those who are listening, not just because of the pretty words that they're saying, but examining to see if this is the truth, then they're going to say, okay, this is contrary to the doctrine which we have learned, right? Because he then cannot be saved. He then cannot inherit what we're going to inherit. Therefore, it doesn't matter that these men are packaging this story in a nice way. It doesn't matter that they are charming and intelligent and entertaining. What they are saying is ultimately incorrect, right? And are strayed from the doctrine. So do we do what? We avoid them, right? So, another example. And this is something that we know well. We're going to read it too, right? This is Ecclesiasticus, book of Sirach, chapter 12, verse 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself, go crouching, so that's him feigning, that's him praying apart, right? Yet take good heed and beware of them, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust has not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee, lest when he has overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat, and thou at the last remember my words, and be pricked therewith. I want to jump down to verse 16. It says, an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but is in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, right? But if he find opportunity, if he will not be satisfied with blood. If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first, and though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. He will shake his head and clap his hands, and which were much, and change his countenance, right? So, the beginning of the lesson, we started with this quote by Arthur Schopenhauer, right? You will always be the prey or the plaything of the devils and fools in this world if you expect to see them going about, right, with horns or jangling their bells, right? Everyone wears masks, right? Some people to deceive, some people simply to fit in, right? So you can't expect the devils of the world to come out and be obviously devils. They will receive all manner of resistance. Look at the elite, for example, and the new thing that they're trying to push. What they package is that sustainable development goals. The word sustainable evokes something positive within the listener, because the word sustainable usually means something positive. So when they package everything under sustainable development goals and convenience, and security and access for all and inclusion and all that good stuff, all these words, right, are used to deceive, so that the underlying narrative or the underlying motive, or what they call the ulterior motive, does not become so readily apparent to people, right? So we have to be spiritual men, and we have to be able to judge, right, everything. So let's just wrap up with that. So this is First Corinthians chapter 2, I believe. First Corinthians chapter 2, right? And boom, 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 boom. Verse 14, but the natural man, the carnal man, right, receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him, neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. But he that is spiritual judgeth all things, yet he himself is judged of no man, right? So yeah, we have to be able to perceive the character, the true intention behind people by paying attention and listening to what they say, watching how they act, and we will be able to discern through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai. So hopefully this lesson was edifying. Until next time, Shalom.